Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
What I want to say to everyone out there that's listening is the government has the ability and has had the ability for a very long time to create technology that's far more advanced than what is currently accessible to the public and private sector in the now. So I'm going to take us back one step. If you remember the movie Minority Report.
Yes.
And you remember in there, they're going through and they have these screens and they're just sliding and they're pushing all this stuff around on the screen.
Right.
And they're able to see where someone in the future is going to do this. Obviously, we don't have that technology, but what I'm talking about is the technology on the screen and all of that. So what they did is they were showing us stuff that was supposed to be in the future. That technology already existed.
Isn't just preparing for tomorrow, it's living in 2050. Meet the XQ-58 Valkyrie, an AI-powered drone that flies with fighter jets, makes decisions mid-air, and costs a fraction of an F-35. Lasers that shoot down missiles at the speed of light, the US Navy's got that right now. Exosuits for soldiers, real-life Iron Man gear enhancing strength, speed, and awareness. And don't forget the rumored TR-3B, a triangle-shaped craft said to be decades beyond modern flight. While the world argues today, the US is already fighting tomorrow's wars.
What's the craziest shit DARPA has done? Like the
absolutely
most mind-bending thing that they've created?
I think the biohybrids, because when I say that thing they have done, right? So for anyone who isn't familiar with DARPA, right? It's the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, a mouthful.
They added the D
they
later,
added the
right?
D for defense, but it is the most powerful, most secretive, most productive military agency in the world. And I kind of believe that before I wrote the book, most people had not heard of DARPA. I mean, I think, or at least when I was doing press for it, it was like shocking.
I think you're right about that.
So that's fascinating. And part of that has to do with DARPA likes the public perception of, that they like do all these things for the good of humanity. And actually, we know from the declassified documents again, or actually this was not declassified. This was the statement by the first SecDef at the time, the SecDef at the time that the DARPA was created, Neil McElroy, an advertising executive who became a Secretary of Defense. He said, he went to Congress to get the funding, and he said, this agency is going to create the vast weapon systems of the future. That is what DARPA does. They are always 20 years ahead of anything that you or I know. So any technology that is like, what the hell was that I just saw and you're not supposed to have seen, that's DARPA.
They were doing Neuralink in the 90s, right?
They are always doing things 20 years before you know about them because they do what is called blue sky technology.
Blue sky research and technology, yes.
And they have to be ahead of the curve. They have to be, right?
Is DARPA the only, I mean, when it comes to this kind of stuff, like innovating weapons for defense and national security, that's probably the only thing, the only apparatus that exists that's doing unlimited blue sky sort of research and development, right? Because they have unlimited money.
That we know of, but nothing surprises me anymore. And so when you find out there's like some agency you've never heard of.
Alrighty, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well in peace, blessing, and safety to the Lord's elect. This is Brother Yeshaya. Now, this vid is going to be about the military, having far advanced technology than what is showed to the public. Okay, that DARPA. All right. Now, like you see from the clips, this is something that has to be understood. Now, we had a brother in the class this past weekend, and he believed that what we see is not well, you know what's available right now to the public. Uh, he believes that it doesn't get much better than that. When on the contrary, it does. And if you look through the spirit, you would know that. You know, it's nothing bad. It's nothing wrong against the brother. I mean, everybody has their opinion, but that's not true. Okay, and you know, I've actually been in the military, and you have certain things called classifications, and the higher your classification is, top secret, 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 secret. You know what I'm saying? It's different classifications. You're able to view certain things that are hidden to the public. So just in that aspect, they hide and they gatekeep certain technologies away from their own military. How much more the average civilian, so to say. So this is the book of Psalms, chapter 64 and verse 6. Man, this whole, you know, chapter. Let's read it. Psalm 64, a psalm of David. Hear my voice, O power, and my prayer preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Subtly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. Okay, so their inward thoughts, you know, they seek out the intricacies of technology and you know how they can advance, and that's their blessing. All right, their blessing is that of the sword. So anything that happens, you know, with the sword, the extensions of the sword, which is you know your deeper technologies, your missile systems, your drones, your missile defense. All right, that's all part of the sword, man. That's all part of his technology. Now we also got to realize that Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, he controls all this and he disperses this knowledge. He even dispersed and gave the smith to smite, gave the the spirit of the smith to smite and the waster to destroy. Okay, by giving those Temanites the access, so to say, to the knowledge of splitting atoms and nucleuses and causing a compound or an action that is more destructive than your conventional fire. That's all of the Lord. So you got to know that the Lord has more for these people, especially in the last days when the scriptures say what they should woe to the inhabitants of the earth. Okay, the devil shall come down with you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. All right. Verse 7. But Yahweh will shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. Okay, so there you go. Even at the top, them having all of this technology, Yahweh Shah is going to use that technology, the apex of that, which is that ICBM missiles, all right, to totally destroy them. Okay, totally burn every element. Okay, because even your conventional fire can't melt steel beams or can't melt certain things. All right. But this nuclear fire that Yahweh Shah, gave as an inspiration to these German scientists and everything like that, that's going to be, basically, yeah, their tool of destruction. All right. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. And all men shall fear and shall declare the work of the Most High, for they shall wisely consider his doing. The righteous shall be glad in the Lord, Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shah, and shall trust in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory. So there you go. All right. I just had to read that whole thing. It was, it was short. So going to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 28. And verse 3, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. So, they're wiser than Daniel in the sense of, Daniel really didn't understand first of all, foremost, all of the prophecies that we understand now, but also, they're basically wise in evil, wise in witchcraft, man. Okay, so they tap in on the left hand side to the spiritual demon Satan, man. And if you don't believe that, you can go to Second Thessalonians, the second chapter, read to the starting around the 8th verse on down. Okay, I'm gonna get that next. Might as well. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thy understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches and have gotten thee gold, has gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. All right, so there you go, man. Hey, their heart are wiser than Daniel. They do a diligent search, like the scriptures say. They do a diligent search. All right. I think I read it. Yeah, they do a diligent search. Um, I said I was gonna get Second Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 8. Verse 7. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Okay. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all powers and signs and lying wonders. And you gotta believe that. Okay. And that's power with all power and signs. So that's the whole setup of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, man. All right, that's the whole setup. Them, you know what I'm saying? Basically getting hit with the okie doke, okay? And Satan has guided them through some stuff, man. You know, did these different world wars, these different skirmishes, these different things that have happened. Okay, the industrial revolutions. Okay, so he's been with them, but now the Lord is taunting him and saying, "Hey, uh, go with your enchantments." Okay, all right, stand now without enchantments that you've been laboring with since your youth, man. All right, because it's starting to the well is starting to dry up. All right, these demons and even Satan is not on hand like he used to be. And that's how you know the end is coming. And then they know that their end is coming. They've seen certain visions and stuff of their destruction. I believe through the Spirit, right? And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth that they may be saved. Okay, so and just because I brought it out earlier, let's go to Esau's blessing. Genesis 27:40. And by the sword shalt thou live, Slakia. I'm gonna start at 38. And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be of the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of the heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke off of his neck. All right. So there you go. All right. So this whole thing, this is his sword. Okay. You can go to Newball Cain. Okay. He made he was, a weapon making an artificer. Okay. Which is Esau Edom, man. So yeah, this devil definitely has more advanced technology, than is available to the current population or the masses. So Lord willing, that was edifying. I want to end it with that. I want to give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, elders, the great millstone. Peace, blessings, safety to the Lord's elect. Shalom.